It's really it's just such an honor to be able to speak at this global leadership summit, a Girl Up Leadership Summit. Oh my God, that was a really good Freudian slip, right? Global leadership, because I think that is actually what we have in this room right now. Last year, I talked about my journey from High School Musical to the United Nations and how that led me on a global tour where I went to 24 different countries to really better understand the various issues that young people face all around the world. And this year, I want to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about how to become uniquely you. Now, during my travels, I obviously got to see firsthand how crucial it is to educate, empower, and count girls all around the world. The importance of sharing our collective voice to amplify those who don't yet have a voice. And at this point, you've heard from several speakers, you've listened to panels, you've participated in workshops, and you hopefully have some ideas and are feeling inspired, right? Everyone's feeling pretty inspired, yeah. Well, inspiration without action is like a car without gas. It's not enough to be inspired. You have to take that inspiration and turn it into motivation. And once you feel motivated, then you have to turn that into action. But the question is, what action? What are we going to do with all that we've become aware of? From the need for girls' education to the elimination of violence against women, ending war, stopping sex trafficking, liberating child soldiers, creating access to resources, unemployment, underemployment, improving health care, freeing bonded workers, and saving our planet. That's a lot. Where will this change originate? It starts with you. One of my favorite quotes is a Chinese proverb, and it says, "When there's light in the soul, there's beauty in the person. When there's beauty in the person, there's harmony in the house. When there's harmony in the house, there's order in the nation. And when there's order in the nation, there can be peace in this world." We all have a light that's burning within us, but it's expressed in infinite ways. For some, it's through a pen, or a smile, a word, an intention, an idea, or a kindness. Our light is so bright that when we use it to illuminate the dark places in the world, it grows even brighter, because just like a candle's flame, lighting someone else's doesn't actually blow yours out, it only makes it stronger. But sometimes I think we wonder, what is our unique contribution to the world, and how can I harness it for good? Well, I actually found my light when I was in somewhat of a dark place. High School Musical was over, and I was feeling lonely, insecure. I would even go so far as to say I felt somewhat lost. Because as I was transitioning into this next phase of my life, I was actually 28. So, as you can imagine, I was 28 and graduating high school for the second time. It was depressing. I was terrified of my future, and I had no idea what I was going to do next. Because you see, many of you may not know, but before High School Musical, I was just a struggling actress with an emphasis on the struggling part. I was so broke that I came home from High School Musical to a 3-day eviction notice on my door. And the weekend that the film came out, I watched it with the kids that I was babysitting for $10 an hour because I didn't actually have cable in my own house and I needed the money. And even while we were doing the press for the film, I would come back to my studio apartment and I would try to pick up shifts on the after hours or on our days off because we weren't getting paid to do the press tour. And at that time, I thought, oh my God, this movie's actually going to make me broke. Little did I know that it was going to, change my life dramatically. So after 3 films, 2 tours, and a season of Dancing with the Stars, I'm sure you can imagine that that little girl who slept on her own floor and didn't have a television to watch her own movie was definitely very comfortable with my new lifestyle. And the last thing that I wanted was to go back to where I was before, and it really was scary to watch it slip away. But as you heard earlier on numerous occasions, everyone's saying to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Man, it's harder than it seems. I had so many voices in my head filling me with what ifs. What if this really was like catching lightning in a bottle? Or what if, something like High School Musical never happens again? And what if I never work again? I mean, I had all of these crazy thoughts that were circulating through my head. What if this and what if that? And let me just say, when you step out of your comfort zone and you accept your what ifs, I assure you that the worst of our what ifs still leaves us with more access, more resources, and more opportunities than so many of the girls that we are advocating for. So it is imperative that we lead the way, and that with all the comforts that we have, that we are willing to step outside of our comfort zone so that we can encourage and empower and inspire other girls and women around the world to do the same. So while I was maneuvering through this post-High School Musical transition, I got a call from another actress named Elizabeth Berkley. You guys, I'm not sure if you've ever seen Saved by the Bell, but she played Jessie Spano. And Saved by the Bell was my favorite. That's just a total side note. I wanted to be, oh my God, now I can't think of her name. I just thought Taylor McKessie in my head. Lisa Turtle, duh, yeah. I totally wanted to be Lisa Turtle, and so it was kind of amazing that I sort of became her a little bit. Sort of, yeah. Anyway, so I got a call from Elizabeth, and she was asking me to write a quote for her organization called Ask Elizabeth, and it was all about, helping girls between the ages of 6 and 12. And I was doing my research on her organization, and I wrote the quote and submitted it, and little did I know that she had actually just lit a spark in me. So I started thinking, man, I really love Elizabeth. She's so cool. I love what she's doing. That's just so amazing that she's doing all these things for girls and that she really just took that platform and took it to the next level. That's awesome. Now, I didn't really have any intention of doing anything with this inspiration. I just thought it was awesome. But it did motivate me to start thinking a little further. So I was like, okay, what would I do if I had something similar? What would I call it, at least? So I came up with some names, like Ask Mo, and then I was like, okay, you're totally ripping off of Elizabeth, obviously. Ask Elizabeth, Ask Mo, really? Not going to work. Things like, oh, Mo, she didn't. I was like, no, that's obviously not going to have global reach. And there's like, oh, you know what? I could have like a little segment called Precious Moments with Mo. And I was like, no, that is seriously so ridiculously cheesy. I will scare people. And then I came up with Gimme Mo. And I was like, ooh, that's kind of good. Gimme Mo. Gimme Mo. Gimme Mo. And all of a sudden these ideas I just kept saying, Gimme Mo. And I was like imagining it, Gimme Mo. And I just went to sleep. And the next morning I woke up and I had this clear vision and idea and mission for this platform that I wanted to create called Gimme Mo, where I was going to take all that I was and all that I had, and I was going to use it to inspire and empower young people through positive dialogue about real issues. And that was it. Suddenly, the light had turned on, and I had this new sense of purpose. And now all of my what-ifs had suddenly become exciting. What if this could be an Oprah-esque type platform for a younger audience? What if me playing Taylor McKessie in High School Musical was actually really so that I could have these connections with millions of young people? What if I could use this amazing gift and opportunity that I've been giving to impact the lives of other people and help them achieve their dreams? What if, what if, what if? Now, right now, it's 3 years later, and Gimme Mo is evolving, and I don't have a clue what it's going to become or how big it could be. But I do know that none of it would have been possible if I didn't allow myself to feel painfully uncomfortable, if I didn't allow myself to look at my dreams and my aspirations and everything that I wanted for myself in the face, and I wasn't willing to say, would I sacrifice this for the potential for this one person to be able to impact and empower so many more people than me? I had to fully embrace uncertainty. Because when it comes to finding your light, you can't be afraid of the dark. Because it's those uncertain moments, those low points, those pitfalls that sometimes make us feel like we're literally going to crack open. But it's when you're cracking open that the light starts to come through. And once you've found your passion, your purpose, your spark, that's when you have to set it into motion. And you do that by either writing it down or telling someone, but you have to take a step towards it so that it will actually grow. Because what happens is that it starts out as what if all of these amazing things happen? And then you tell one person, and then all of a sudden all of the other what ifs start coming back. Oh my gosh, what if I'm crazy? What if was a really big mistake? But now you have someone that's going to hold you accountable. And once you have that accountability and you match it with, opportunities and doing that sort of outreach, then suddenly you have a product. And maybe on the inside you might be feeling scared and you don't know what to do, but on the outside there starts to be this forward momentum. And then other people start to pick up on that idea and they start to run with it. And then you realize that it was never really about you. It was always bigger than you. And so that's when it's that time where you have to move out of your own way and give it to the people that it was intended for in the first place. Which is probably one of the hardest things for me. Because I've had to learn that you discover your purpose, but you don't actually get to direct it. It's not something that you create. It's something that was always there. It's the light that was already inside of you. So I want to encourage you to try setting goals without setting limitations. So think about that for a second. Sometimes, you might say, oh, I want this or I want that. Make sure that your goal is so high that you don't know how you're going to achieve it. Because if it's any lower than that and you know you're going to achieve it, then isn't it a limitation? Ultimately, don't you want something bigger than even you or anyone in this room could conceive? Another thing I think can be limiting are titles, job titles, positions, things like that, roles. So instead of seeking a title or something that you can become, you've heard so many speakers, and you might go away and say, oh, I want to be a youth champion, or I want to be, this title or that title or this title. Don't worry about the title. Don't worry about what it says on a piece of paper. Think about the position that you actually want to occupy in the world. Do you want to be in the front? Do you want to be behind the scenes? Do you want to be in the wings? Do you want to lead? Do you want to be in an office? Do you want to be in the field? Where are you? What is the position that you want to occupy? So when you have to figure out who you are and what you want and let go of what you call it. So as Gimme Mo has grown, I started to notice that I feel very uncomfortable with the title CEO. But essentially, I am the founder and CEO of Gimme Mo. And I was like, why do I feel so uncomfortable? Why, when people ask me, I'm very shy about saying that I have a company or a foundation. It's very, very, very awkward for me. And I realized that the reason why is because I felt like the title CEO replaced my other title of being an artist. And then I felt like, well, okay, maybe I'm kind of like an entrepreneur. That feels a little bit more comfortable. And I was like, no, I don't want to be an entrepreneur, because if I'm an entrepreneur, then what happened to being an actress? Isn't that how I got here in the first place? I'm only now starting to realize that I can be an actress and an activist and an artist and a speaker and an entrepreneur and a dancer and a person. That ultimately these titles are just boxes that we need to burst out of, because none of them are big enough to fill or to hold the fullness of who we are. And this is just to really be awkward. I'm going to awkwardly reference High School Musical. I'm sure some of you have seen it. And, I think the reason why the movie resonated with so many people, besides, obviously Zac Efron, is because of the message. And there was a message that was in that film when, Troy Bolton went to his dad, and his dad was like, you can't do the musical. And he stops and he does the thing that he did with his hair, and he was like, did you ever think that maybe I could do both? It really is one of my favorite moments. You guys saw it though, didn't you? You saw the hair and the eyes. I know, right? Well, you don't have to choose. And I don't have to choose, because we are so multifaceted. So make sure that you don't pursue the idea of a title that limits all that you can accomplish. As a society, we sometimes make assumptions about things, and then we build on those assumptions. I don't know how many people in this room are vegetarian, but I'm pescatarian, so I eat fish, but typically I will get a vegetarian meal because. So anyway, a lot of times I get the vegetarian meal and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, this is cute. It's like a salad and it, has an apple and some juice. And I look over and I see the other meal with a sandwich and it's got a cookie, it's got like a brownie or something really exciting. And I noticed that there's this expectation or this assumption that's made that just because I'm a vegetarian doesn't mean that I eat cookies and brownies. I do eat cookies and brownies. The point of that being that sometimes I think we make these assumptions and we lump things together and we say, oh, if you're this, then that must mean these other things. If you're a girl, that must mean this. If you're a boy, that must mean this. If you occupy this role or this position, that must equate to something else. But who are we to make those kinds of assumptions? Because just because you want to change the world does not mean that you can't wear really great heels. And just because you want to be an engineer doesn't mean that you can't also be a writer or have a blog. So we have to let go of these labels and get outside of the box and drop limiting ideas and titles and descriptions and categories that define who you are or what you do. You are who you are. And whatever you have in your heart to do can be used for social good. Anything. You can imagine that after traveling to 24 different countries in a 6-month period and going all over from Africa to India and Bangladesh and all of these incredibly diverse and rich and impoverished places that my mind was completely blown. When I got back, the last thing that I could have imagined doing was acting because I wanted to do something real. I wanted to make a difference and really, I couldn't even fathom wanting to pursue something that in the moment I felt was kind of selfish and short-sighted. Well, my tune has changed because deep down I had to really face who I really am and that I was putting myself in a box. I was putting myself in a category. I was limiting who I was because I couldn't see how they could go together. And even though acting may not, solve the world's problems, I will say that films like Slumdog Millionaire, Lincoln, or Hotel Rwanda, The Help, Million Dollar Baby, these films are sometimes the reason why someone becomes aware of an issue or a social cause. It's the thing that gets them upset and makes them just angry about something and want to go out and do something. And these films have actually been very, very much a part of our society and can really be an educational tool. So the more, I became aware of the world's issues, the more I was judging my own personal ambitions. But now I realize that you can actually use your awareness of these issues as an opportunity rather than an obstacle. Now, it'll start out as an obstacle because with as many things as I mentioned in the beginning that we're working towards, you won't be able to close your eyes. Because now you can see. You can see the need for sustainability. You can see the need for environmentally conscious and green jobs. You can see the need for inclusion. You can have all of that inside of your head. But you can't, as one individual, do something about every single one of those things. But if you ask yourself hard questions and you make difficult decisions with that awareness up front, you will garner even greater results. Because there's no greater result than your unique purpose paired with your global perspective. So in closing, I just want to say, I think the most important thing is to just be honest with yourself about who you really are and what you really want. It's really easy to get in this room and be here and be like, man, gosh, I love what this person wants to do, or I love what that person wants to do, or I'm just so inspired by everyone. And then as you go home, you obviously want to take these things and put them into action. But after a while, those other things that you like start to creep back in. Don't compete with them. Don't think that those things don't matter too. They do matter because they make you the complete person that you are. Nobody's asking you to change who you are. We're just asking that you use who you are to have the greatest possible impact. And then you have to allow what you want to change. We've all heard the phrase, and I have preached the phrase, never give up on your dreams. And then recently, when I was asking myself if it was really my dream to continue to be an actress, or if it was the 8-year-old in me that wanted to be an actress, I had this really, this flash of a moment where I asked myself, wow, is it that you gave up or that you grew up? And I don't know the answer to that. So I'm still pursuing my dream that I had when I was 8 and that I still have today. But you have to ask yourself that question. Don't make unbreakable contracts with yourself today about who you are and what you can become. Allow that to change and evolve. You have to give yourself permission to change your mind, to make a mess, to try and fail, to want one thing and then want something else, and then go back to the thing that you originally wanted. But just keep your eyes open. Don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to worry about itself. And if each of you, every single one of you in this room, pursues your deepest, most authentic, truthful, shamefully honest passion, but with absolute, expansive global awareness, I have no doubt that that combination has the power to change the world. Thank you.